So you want to learn how to build a really cool dorm room that utilizes the whole space around the map and also sell it for tokens? Well, in this video I've got you covered, but to make it a bit easier I'm going to break up into segments, which involves step 1. Planning. Now, planning is crucial to building absolutely anything. You need to know exactly what you're building and roughly what it's going to look like in the end product. So I've set up 3 simple go tips that you can follow whenever you're building absolutely anything. Tip number 1, layout. There's multiple different ways to building dorm skins. I'm sure you've seen it whenever you're going to buy a new dorm skin in the store. You can either build one within the dorm skin walls, you can build one outside of the dorm skin walls, or you can do both. People have done this in many ways, on having the main area upstairs and having like a bathroom by the mirror and some other sort of room outside of the dorm skin by the side. So you need to decide how big this thing is going to be, and this can also affect on how pricey you want it to be. The bigger the dorm skin, usually the more expensive it is. Next, you need to think of a theme. What theme are you building this? Is it going to be Wild West? Is it going to be sci-fi? You need to decide what it's going to be. And last one is reference. Now, as much as we love to just whip up ideas in our heads, usually ideas and thoughts aren't really a steady thing to go by. So my recommendation is to go onto the likes of Google or Pinterest and look at images on the internet to try and figure out what sort of style you want to do. Now, you don't have to stick to the exact theme of these photos. You can always just take inspiration from different other photos and implement them as you go along. But usually for a basic structure and a basic theme, reference photos are always your go-to. This helps with consistency and also makes it look a lot better, so when everything isn't thrown into one. Now, you may be wondering, if I'm wanting to build a dorm skin outside of my dorm, how am I going to do that? Let me show you exactly how I do it. Now, this dorm room might look a little different than what yours does, and this is because I'm in the dorm room v2, which I would highly recommend for making dorm skins, or usually just using as a dorm room in itself, because you can delete basically anything. Usually whenever you would build the dorm skin, you would have the likes of this bed or that ladder getting in your way, so you had to try and build around it or find some sort of way to incorporate it into your dorm skin. But now with Dorm Room v2, you can just delete that out of the way entirely, which means you have whole freedom of space in here. You don't have to wrap around the likes of this stuff. Now, a good basis I like to go off of for the floor would definitely be the bottom of this ledge. It gives you more room in the room that you're building, and it also means if someone's too tall or if you jump too high, you won't get teleported back down to the actual dorm room. I simply just build something like this. One tip for doing this as well is make sure to manipulate it up and then follow up. Don't drag and follow it up, because once you get teleported back, this whole thing will just collapse right back down to the start and you'll lose your progress. Once you have this manipulated out, I would usually just drag this in a small bit so then we know roughly where that is and we stay away from that boundary. Now what you're going to do is you're going to manipulate all of these sides out so you know how big of a playing field you have. Just repeat the same process. And there we go, base wise for the floor and width, this is how much you're working with. Now this is quite a lot. I believe they might have expanded the boundaries with the dorm room v2, and this can actually work well in your favor because it gives you more area to work around. But please do remember, if you're selling this as an actual dorm skin, if they have changed the boundaries in the dorm room v2, this might not work in the old version of the dorm rooms if the boundaries have expanded, obviously because it's different boundaries. So now what you're going to do is you're going to repeat the same process that you've done for the floor with the walls, extending the walls up, and however far up it gets, that's how far you go. Now this part doesn't take as long as the floor. All you need to do is just build a straight cube up, manipulate it up, and once you know where you are, you can just clone that wall around the whole floor. And there we go, that's roughly how high I can go with the walls. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate this out and fill this whole wall up. Then I'll clone it to the side and repeat the same process for the other ones. All I'm doing for these 2 walls is just cloning this out, rotating it around and moving it to where it goes. Then I just fit it into the shape. And a quick way to use the rotating tool as well, instead of just dragging this around, you can just tap it and it'll automatically rotate 90 degrees. Now we have this big box, and don't worry, you don't have to build another cube for this roof. You can just simply clone the floor. It makes everything a lot easier. Now if you don't want to go through all the hassle of building all this yourself, don't worry, I made this whole thing an invention, so after this video, if you want to try it out, you can go to my page, you can download the invention and use it for your own. Now you can use this for the room itself, you can use it as a spacer, it doesn't matter. This will just show you how big of a space that you can work with above the dorm. And remember, as far as I'm aware, this is only in dorm room version 2. So there's a chance you might not get this big of a space in the old version of the dorm rooms. Now that we have those bases set out, let's go find out how we put walls on our actual dorm room. Now like I said, because this is dorm room v2, we can delete basically everything in here. So let's go ahead and clear the way. Alright, now that we have everything out of the way, I'm going to show you the easiest way to put walls on your dorm room. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick a wall, start at the very bottom, and make sure you have uniform shapes turned off. You don't want this on. We're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to drag our way up to the top. You're going to do the same process for all of the walls. Now once you get to these two windows, this is whenever it starts getting a bit tricky. Unfortunately, you can't just delete these windows out of the way. I wish you could. You're going to have to build around it. If you want to build these walls right up and just cut these windows off, that is completely fine. But if you want to keep them, this is how you build around them. Starting off with this wall, what you want to do is you want to clone this wall up. Just tap the arrow. Once you've done that, you're going to select manipulate and drag this over to here. The reason why we're cloning it is so that this wall will be the exact same thickness as this, so you won't have to worry or stress about trying to match it up and make sure it's seamless. If there is a wee bit of a seam on it, all you do is just drag that down a bit. If you're using a texture, just be careful whenever you do that because the textures can glitch. Now you just clone this one over to that side. Once we've done that, we move on to these angle bits. Now what you want to do is you want to clone this out. And you're going to try your best to match the angle. Once you've got it somewhat okay, you can go ahead and manipulate it up. Now if yours doesn't look like this, go ahead and toggle world space. And that should fix it. Toggle it on or off, mess around with that button. If it doesn't fix it, you may just have to play around with it a wee bit more. And once you've got that, you just clone it over to this side. And then manipulate this out to cover that full wall. Now for this part, I would usually just cover that up. I rarely use this full dorm room. I usually just use this spot as another room that's linked to the room upstairs. But if you're wanting to keep this, let me show you how to build around this bit. You want to take your clone tool and go ahead and clone this piece out. And once you've done that, you're just going to rotate that around. Then you're going to try and fit it. And once again, if this doesn't exactly match up or if it doesn't exactly fit, you might have to play around with the angle a wee bit more to try and get the angle matched. Now this window is definitely the hardest as it's a round shape. I would usually just use cubes for this and just try and do small little sections to try and trace around it. If you don't want to do that, you can cut it off, but I'm going to insert a time lapse of me just sort of building this up. If you don't want to see the time lapse, skip to this bit. And once again, if you are using different materials and whatnot, please do be careful because materials can glitch and you can see the seams a lot better. So darker colors really are the way to go, and sort of blanker materials are your best bet whenever it comes to doing stuff like this. Whenever it comes to your floor, you're basically just doing the exact same thing you did to the walls, but you're just doing it horizontally. And that is how you trace both the bottom of the dorm and the top to utilize the whole space that you have. This video is going to have to be cut down into a part 1 in order to save time so the video doesn't get too long, but if you want to see another video about how I decorate this dorm and bring the theme into it along with building different props and such, do let me know down in the comment section below and hit that thumbs up so I know you enjoyed it. If you want to see more building videos like this, different building tutorials on how to build certain things, let me know down in the comment section below and I'll think about making a video about it. If you want to learn how to get better with the Maker Pen and the advice I have to getting loads of tokens within the game, click this video right here and it'll show you exactly how. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and also ring that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Snake. Take care.